Welcome! In this video, we will show you how to discover devices in senhasegura. In these cases, you can choose to use a discovery by domain or by device. To create a domain discovery, on the Discovery menu, expand the setting options, choose Discovery, and create a new discovery. Choose the domain type. This will lead you to the setup screen where you should add a name to your discovery. This name is used for identification purposes only. I'll name mine Discovery Domain. Next, choose a domain that has been previously registered to senhasegura. Finally, add the DN base of that same domain, that is, the string used in the Microsoft standard. In our example, our domain is senhasegura.local, whose string translates into DC equals local, comma, DC equals senhasegura. You can also choose to create a unique glossary for this discovery. You can find more details on how to do that in a separate video. On the Connection tab, add a credential or pool of credentials with high enough administrative privileges to run remote commands in PowerShell. I'll be using an admin credential for that. You don't have to make any changes to the Search tab because all devices will be subject to discovery here. Next, on Search Parameters, we should add Microsoft default configuration. This means the account form should be left at main. You can leave the next field blank. We don't need the DN of the credential filter because we are not looking for credentials in this case. However, the DN of the device filter should be populated with the strings of the devices where we will be running this search. By default, these devices are located at the OU computers, but you can choose to add customized directories or groups if necessary. Let's say I created a customized group in Portuguese that reads computadores. Senhasegura can run the search there and bring all the computer type devices to our system. Here, let me change it back to computers. The account name attribute and host name attribute come pre-populated but can be changed if needed. In account domain, add the host name. In this case, senhasegura.local. The short name is not a mandatory field, but I'll add mine, senhasegura. Here at the bottom, we have some additional information such as the use of SSL in our search. If the member is a DN and if the bind requires DN, if so, please remember to add the field to the right. In case you leave it blank, it will use the DN base we populated at the top of the page. As the name says, the Filters for Search tab helps us filter the devices listed in our discovery. In this first field, I will tell it to only bring objects of the computer class. But we can add any additional filters. For example, if I want my search to bring only devices that take the prefix senhasegura, I can add these instructions to my filter. Therefore, any other devices will be ignored in the process. You will have to add a plugin for discovery. In this case, we are using the Windows plugin. And in case you're not using the default port, but rather a customized one, you can add the port number here. Leave it blank to use the default port. The Execution tab sets up the general settings to run and schedule the scan. Your scan can be active for only a single run, or you can schedule your scan for specific days and times and add a minimal interval between scans. Finally, go to the Import tab to tell the system to automatically import the devices and credentials or filter usernames whose credentials will be imported. This last one does not apply to our example because I'll be importing devices only. Save these changes. This will add your discovery to an execution queue, and any results will be added to the device report you'll find on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, there is a second way to set up your discovery, this time based on the type of device. Under Settings, go to the Discovery page once again. Click to create a new discovery, but this time choose the option Device. Once again, we should start by adding a name that identifies this discovery. Discovery device, for example. The initial and final IP addresses will create a range for our search and limit the number of devices discovered. I'll choose this range. In this discovery type, the only tabs you should really pay attention to are the Plugins, Execution, and Imports tabs. In this case, you don't need to fill in information about the credential because we will be searching only for devices in the network. So, in the Plugin tab, choose the plugin you want to use. In this case, either Unix, Linux, or Windows. I'll add both. And if you want to use a specific port, you can also add it here in the port field. If you leave it blank, the system will use the default port. For Unix Linux, the default port is port 22, and for Windows, it is port 3389. Moving on to the Execution tab, choose the General Settings to run and schedule the scan. And on the Import tab, choose if the devices should be automatically imported into the system. As covered before, you can also filter for usernames in this tab, though this is not necessary in our example. Save your changes. And after your discovery is complete, you will find the results under Devices on the left-hand side of the screen, which will bring you a complete list of all the devices found.